Hello, hello. My name is Eli Arkush. I'm a principal solution engineer at Akamai for almost 6 years now. And I'm focused on working with cloud service providers and how Akamai media, web, and security solution integrate with cloud providers. And together with me, we have Eric Johnson from Rackspace. He's an AWS evangelist. And together we will talk about how Akamai, companies can leverage Akamai to make your cloud transformation initiative successful. All right, so we will talk about Hurricane Irma. We'll talk about managing risk, the importance of planning, business needs in general, and specifically of companies moving to the cloud and doing the cloud transformation. And we will finish strong with some actionable recommendations that you can take and implement today with your cloud initiatives. So if you're ready, let's go. All right, so I get it. Clouds can be scary, right? I mean, this is a cloud I had to deal with recently, Hurricane Irma. Living in Fort Lauderdale in the last 2.5 years, we had to personally deal with it, and I learned a few lessons that I thought that are correlated to the talk today. So I wanted to share with you my personal experience. So planning or preparing for Hurricane Irma, we had to do some decision making during uncertainty, right? We didn't know if the hurricane will hit our house directly or bypass us. We didn't know the strength of it, and also we didn't know if should we go on a plane and fly to New York or hit on the car and hit the road. So again, with your cloud initiatives, applications that you host, and digital presence online, you also don't know if the next campaign will be massive, how much traffic you will get, or the next security attack will be overwhelming and your website will go down. Another thing that the hurricane did is to stress test our environment. So our house, our yard, our internet providers, electricity company, city services. And again, similar to your web applications in the cloud, you should make sure that you stress test your environment, and probably ahead of the campaigns that you're launching, like Cyber Monday or Black Friday, or any important campaigns that you do. So having a plan in place is super important, because you want to plan ahead of time and be prepared when something big happens. You want to be prepared. And last, we reached out to experts in the field. That I'm not a hurricane expert, so when my wife had we had some shortage in batteries for the flashlight, we reached out to our neighbor who lives there 30 years, and he's been through all kinds of hurricanes. So when you guys are preparing your cloud applications to make sure they're available, performing well, and highly secure, then you should consider maybe reaching out to companies like Akamai or Rackspace to help you plan for it. Sorry. And that's, by the way, how it looked like from my backyard. Pretty scary experience. So we'll get back to this story at the end of the session, but now I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit about the business needs in general, and specifically to your cloud applications. So every business is different, obviously, but I wanted to talk about these 5 pillars that are super important for any digital online application or business. So the first one is the user experience, right? We heard Tom Layton talk about the 4 seconds rule and the 2 second rule, and now even the 1 second rule. End users are expecting that their experience will be engaging, snappy, fast. They don't care if you host the application in a private data center or in AWS or Azure or a Google Cloud Platform. They expect it to perform really well. Availability, again, if users cannot access your applications, you lose, period. You lose either money or reputation or user engagement, user satisfaction. You need to make sure your application is available 24/7, 365. Visibility, you want to get the data, what's going on in your environment. You want it to be in real time or near real time, and you want to base your decisions based on the data that you see. So moving to the cloud shouldn't impact that. Another thing, driver that drives most of business stakeholders to go to the cloud is cost reduction, moving from upfront capital expenditures to ongoing pay-as-you-go, consumption-based operational expenses. And the last but not least, security. We're focused on two main things you should think about: data integrity and data availability, right? Data integrity against web application attacks that want to steal your data or destroy your data, like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. And also data availability, large-scale DDoS attacks that you want to have the right protection to make sure your application is available. So moving to the cloud, you might think that you may put some of these tenants at risk, but actually the cloud is equipped to handle scale, and putting Akamai on top of the cloud will enable you to maintain the availability and the security and performance that you need to achieve your business goals. So now I want to hand it off to Eric Johnson from Rackspace to take you through a typical cloud architecture or customer case that they come to Rackspace. Rackspace advise them how to take this to the cloud and how Akamai can integrate into this process.
All right, so, thank you. Thanks, Ellie. All right, thank you very much. First of all, before I get started, I want to do a quick call out to our swag table over here. They've done a great job. Give them a round of applause. They've done a great job over there. Specifically, all of you guys, Joanne got to help me. I'm not easy to help, I'm going to tell you that right now. So she did a great job. I'm going to give her a thumbs up, but it's virtual, it's not real. Okay, y'all see that. So just following that pattern, something you need to understand, there's a couple of rules when I talk. And you guys are like, rules? But I have the mic, so I get to make up the rules, right? So somebody's already leaving. He's like, I'm not listening to these rules. I'm out of here. So here's the rules real quick. And this will help you. They're not really rules, but they're guidelines. So the rule guideline number 1 is this is any number I want it to be. Okay? There are a lot of times when I'll do a description and I'll say, hey, there were 22 of us. And a lot of times they kind of look at me really funny. Or, hey, we need a table for 11. And I find myself sitting alone at the bar. So this is any number I want it to be. Also, these are quotes, not apostrophes. I know that, okay? But if I do this, sometimes when I do this, try to do the quotes, like, hey, I was working the other day. A lot of times somebody in the back row will always wave back. Is he waving at us? So no, I'm not waving. And finally, these are thumbs. And you know why these are thumbs? Because this will get you beat up, right? So I have to use this for thumbs. So when I do this, a lot of it like, yeah, like that. So my actually college ID was that, so you can't tell. But I am excited to be here. I'm glad you guys are here. And we want to talk about my role at Rackspace is I'm the AWS evangelist. But I'm also a cloud architect. I'm a practitioner. And I sit with customers a lot and work through how do you do migration to the cloud and how do you continue to optimization and transformation and a continual pattern of moving forward in the cloud. And I want to talk to you about how we can implement Akamai in that process and give you some examples. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started. What you're looking at is really kind of a conglomeration or commonality of workloads that we see. When we get different workloads at Rackspace, it'll have different things. In this example, we're talking about basically 2 workloads in one application. We have an ordering system that handles a lot of traffic, okay, a ton of traffic. And we have a fulfillment system that's more internal that doesn't quite handle as much traffic. And so what will happen is the client will come to us and say, hey, we have this, and me specifically, it'll be coming into AWS. But they'd say, we have this workload either on another cloud or on premise or in our aunt's closet, and we need to move it to the cloud. How do we do that? And one of the stories that we hear a lot is, hey, we need to do the transformation, the migration, but we can't have any downtime, okay? It has to stay up. How can we do that? We also need to do it in some steps that are going to take some time. So what we'll do is we'll kind of look at that and say, okay, well, how can we do this? So as we prep for migration, one idea or one way we use Akamai or can use Akamai is this kind of this bridge in when we're dealing with having multiple locations for our application. So if we have to do this slow move from an on-premise data center into one of the clouds, we can use Akamai as this kind of central umbrella to kind of handle one, our availability, our scalability. You see these icons, our performance and our security. One of the things is we can have, like, let's say we're using, you saw in this last, I'm going to go back here for a sec. You saw we're using Active Directory for our identity. Well, one of the things we can do is with Akamai is we can tie into that Active Directory, and then we can provide secure access to either on-premise or on the cloud. So we have this central location to handle our security. We have this central location to handle our CDN, our all kinds of stuff, our API protection, all those kinds of things. And we can put that in place before we ever do the migration. So if the first step we do, number one, that one I can do and it makes sense, so stay with me. Number one is we can put Akamai kind of above it, put that in place, and then we start on our migration. All right? So once we get into the cloud, and this particular example is AWS, once we get into the cloud, this is what we call a lift and shift. Okay? Now, in reality, we would love to come to a customer at Rackspace. We'd like to sit down and go, hey, do these 7 things first, then we'll move you over, and then you'll see this amazing, performance and performance increase, cost decrease, and all that kind of stuff. But that's not realistic. Most of the time, what we do is we'll help the customer do what we call a lift and shift. And that means as little code as possible, very little architectural change, and we'll take what they have in their on-premise and we'll move it into the cloud, okay? And then it looks kind of like this. Now, we will take some early advantage of things like auto-scaling, RDS, different things like that, but that's what that looks like. Now, once we've got it over, we can still keep Akamai as our secure access point, right? Just because we're bridging a migration, once we're all the way over, we can still keep that there. And there's some reasons for this, okay? One is, when we set up an architecture, and I'll tell you, when I set up an architecture, and I'm doing like a small company or something like that, the first, to do just simple CDN, generally I'll go to CloudFront. CloudFront's a great product. It's built into AWS, it works great, it gives us the CDN, it gives us some different functionality like WAF and some different things like that. But they don't have the same kind of POP proliferation. I can't even say the word, proliferation, there it is. Wow, I speak for a living, can you tell? So I would sign it, but that's weird. So they don't have the same amount of POPs that Akamai does. So if I'm running a company that I need to be everywhere, that I need this huge amount of POPs, I can keep my Akamai infrastructure. And so again, I have this unified security interface for my stuff. So what we tell customers is if you stay at a lift and shift, you're not getting the best use of a cloud, any cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP, whatever. So the next thing we do at Rackspace is we will encourage and we'll work with our clients to go through optimization and transformation. And we're going to skip on ahead. We won't go through all the steps because it's kind of out of scope for what we're talking about. But once we've moved, this is kind of an optimal workload for what we were looking at. And I'll explain it here in that in our ordering system on AWS, what we've done is we've hosted our site in a host bucket. So we have the instant scalability of S3. We've gotten rid of any kind of API because we can do all our transformations right at the API gateway level. We don't need anything to do any transformation. And we've changed over to use Dynamo with Accelerator, which means our database is pretty much sitting in cache at all times. Okay, so I have this incredibly fast infrastructure to handle my ordering. With my fulfillment, I've done some stuff with Lambda where I can render some HTML. I've done API gateway. I've introduced some queuing, some pub sub. So what I've got is this architecture that allows for incredible scalability using cloud technologies, but I'm still running Akamai over the top of it. okay, for the same reasons that I've been listing, okay? So I have this, I don't see a need to pull that out because I want the amount of POPs I've got. I've already got my security in place. My people are used to it. This is where I can get into some of the DevOps stuff they've got working on, where I can have some of my integration with external developers. I have my SQL injection protection going on through Akamai. So everything's kind of in place under this umbrella of Akamai, and then I have my cloud humming along in a transformed architecture. So that's kind of as an architect, as a solutions architect, this is one way that I would use Akamai when I'm working with customers, when I'm working in the cloud. Now, I know we have some Azure people out there, so I wanted to throw this in there. This obviously works in Azure as well. This is cloud agnostic. We can put this on top of anything. So I'm throwing that out there. So this is what that would look like in Azure. But let's move on for a second. What if you're dealing with multiple clouds? And we already kind of did when we were going from our on-premise to our cloud, but then we kind of ended that and moved it over. But what if you're dealing with multiple clouds? What if you've got some stuff you want in Rackspace or you're, AWS like we were showing, or Google Cloud. That's, we introduced Google Cloud. Maybe you have some stuff in a private, or you do it in Azure. And that's becoming a thing nowadays, isn't it? The standard user, the standard larger company is using up to 7 clouds. Now that doesn't mean, sometimes that's Salesforce, sometimes that might be, they're considering like Jira, maybe more SaaS and things like that, but they're using different cloud providers. And so when we do this is where that unification of security, of user interface, of the CDN, of all the things that are provided really come in handy. Because Akamai is able to say, look, all we need is an endpoint. Give us an endpoint and we can do the work for you. We can handle the security. We can handle the distribution. We can handle the SQL injection or protection against that. We can handle authentication. We can handle your WAF. We can do your blacklisting. We can do your whitelisting as an umbrella at one central point across all your clouds. And so what you've got, again, and I know it's a repeated statement here, is for your management. If you look at this from a management standpoint, this is the reduction of the headache, right? This is the reduction of having to go to 7 different portals to configure stuff. This is the company that comes in and says, that's all right, we got that for you. We'll handle that. We'll put our umbrella over all of it and take care of that. And so that's what you're looking at when we go to multi-cloud. So what I want to do is I want to turn it back over to Ellie, and Ellie's going to talk about some different technologies that Akamai has to do what we're talking about and how we kind of put that in place. And got it? All right, here you go, sir.
Thanks, Eric. Great stuff, yeah. So Eric talked about how Akamai can provide a unified umbrella for availability, security, performance, and access. I want to take it one level deeper and talk about specific solutions that Akamai can help you before, during, and after your cloud transformation in these areas. So in performance, we have Ion, our web performance flagship product that started 19 years ago with basic caching, but with technology advancement, we added much more optimizations. Things like route optimization. We run races across the internet between any 2 points, so we can accelerate dynamic content, personalized content that you cannot cache at the edge of the internet, right? We have this massive platform of 230,000 servers distributed globally, and we do it from the edge. We deliver static content from the edge. We accelerate dynamic content. And other features that Ion has are like object prefetching, that we can scan an HTML before we deliver it to the end user and preempt the embedded objects within the HTML, like CSS, JavaScript, images, that we know that the client is going to ask us in subsequent requests. So we already pull them from the cache or from the origin and have them ready at the edge to deliver them faster. So again, user experience, the user gets the pages faster, even if it's web application or mobile application. Specifically for mobile, we have both mobile and cellular optimizations that we can determine based on the connection type or connection quality, what kind of image, for example, to deliver. If we need to compress the images on a poor connection, that's what we'll do, because we know that it's important to load the page faster. All right, so based on the connection quality, we can decide how much to compress an image and to deliver it to the device. Image Manager is another solution that handles images and offload your operational efforts and resources. So you can upload one high-quality, pristine image to your cloud storage or to Akamai's net storage, and we can take this image and based on the device type, screen size, resolution, browser type, etc., we will create the permutations of the images without you need to handle it, and we will deliver it from the edge. We will deliver all the images from the edge. Again, it saves you a lot of resources in your workflow. Going to enterprise application access, again, this is a relatively new business unit that we have. Again, providing access to your internal enterprise applications, specifically for remote employees, contractors, third-party vendors, and partners. You don't want to have them ship them laptops with VPN installed and provide them access to your entire network, because that can be vulnerability, as we saw in the keynotes. Once they click on a phishing or a malware, download some malware, and they have access to the entire network, it can become very dangerous. So we can provide remote, secure, and convenient access, again, before or during your migration, or if you have multi-cloud, the users will not tell the difference, because we can provide this remote access. Security, web security, again, data integrity and data availability. So we have Kona Site Defender, our flagship security product that protects web applications against both SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and other sneaky attacks that want to steal your data or destroy your data or deface your website. And also, because we have this high distribution in the platform, we can mitigate high-scale volumetric DDoS attack, denial of service attack that wants to bring down your website. Again, and we can do it both on the web layer and also on the DNS with fast DNS. If attackers are targeting your DNS infrastructure and it goes down, no one can access your website or web application. So again, we have this distributed DNS platform that we can provide both faster resolutions and also mitigate DNS-based DDoS attacks. And lastly, we talked about delivering content from the edge. We talked about providing security close to the attackers and away from the infrastructure. Now we talk about business logic at the edge with cloudlets. All right, so it's like Lambda at the edge or Azure Function at the edge. A simple business logic functionalities that you can do at the edge of the internet and offload it to Akamai. Things like phased release cloudlet that can help you with your release process. If you have, on-prem environment and a cloud environment, and you want to divide the users into subsets and deliver different release versions, we can allow you to do it. Application load balancer is another cloudlet that helps you do this load balancing between your different environments during the transformation or if you have a multi-cloud environment. And also Edge Redirector allows you to give access to your marketing folks to define redirection rules between friendly URLs and the actual website URL that you can deliver the pages. It's good for SEO optimizations. So, and lastly, we have all these technologies and the platform and everything, but the people element is really completes the picture here. So we develop our solutions, our products to be self-serviceable in case you want to do it yourself and API friendly. But sometimes you say, I'm not an internet or security or cloud expert. I want you guys to consult me, to provide technical advisory. So we can come in and provide this kind of advisory once a year or a couple times a year, do an assessment, provide you recommendations. Or you say, you know, I don't want to deal with it at all. I want you to manage my security, manage my web performance, or manage live streaming events. So we have our security operations center that provide managed security against DDoS and web application attacks. We also have the broadcast operations center, the BOC, for live events to make sure these are successful. So we have people monitoring the quality of the stream and make sure your business initiatives and cloud initiatives are successful. We also have Rackspace. They also have fanatical support for AWS, Azure, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, to keep your cloud initiatives, you know, available and maintain the SLA that you need to drive your business revenue. And also we have monitoring and testing tools like mPulse and Cloud Test. Again, talking about this stress testing your environment before the hurricane comes or before the big campaign or security attack. We can provide both Cloud Test to do that, and also mPulse ties business metrics like conversions or user engagement or user bounce rates into performance indicators like page load times and stuff like that. So you know where to invest your resources and time, which page should you optimize with your limited resources that gains the highest ROI. So let's finish with a few recommendations and actionable conclusions. Moving to the cloud doesn't mean you lose control, right? You still have control, you still have visibility, you can still know what to do and how to do the next level of the transformation. The cloud is designed to handle scale, so you have the dynamic scalability from AWS or Azure, but putting Akamai on top of it provides an extra level of scalability with our highly distributed platform that we can handle 60 terabits per second in one day, for example. So you can focus on your core business. You don't need to worry about availability or security or performance. We can offload and handle it for you. And as you saw a few slides back, Akamai is much more than a CDN. Everyone knows that we started from a CDN, but we have web performance, cloud security, enterprise access and security, and also cloudlets and image manager to help you achieve your business needs. And last, plan. Again, planning for a hurricane or planning for an event is hugely important. That's the last takeaway. I should have probably planned better before the hurricane hit my backyard and the tree fell down. So I had to recover and plan better for the next one. All right. So I hope you enjoyed the session. If you would like, Eric and I are available in the next few minutes to take any questions that you have. Thank you.